Hey everybody. Clay's having a few difficulties with his mic. Um Apparently the cord that he uses to connect his Shure microphone to his computer has got some issues. So, hi, what's going on? How are you? How's your day? Hey Carson. Hey Melissa. Um he should be with us shortly. I'm not sure what exactly the length of cord he must find, but to get his mic working, but he's working on it. Um, how is everybody? What's going on? It's just me. Um, Not as exciting as Clay is, I'm sure, and a lot less interesting, I'm sure. Um, but hello, Melissa. Yeah, Ian's kicking good. I'm glad to hear that. I have not watched it yet. We've been trying to do research for today's or tonight's stream. Um, he always does kick ass though. He always gets everything going on. Um, yeah, I don't know if you heard, but Clay's having microphone issues. He can't have it, something happened to his, excuse me, to his cord, to his microphone to computer. And yeah, he's trying to find one right now. I know we have some, don't know exactly where they are because I lose everything, but I know we do have some. He's searching intently. Um, Hi. That's way quicker than he was last year at Melissa. Or Melissa. Why don't I say at Melissa? That's awesome. Has he had anybody come in and give him a break for a few minutes? Like I think he had Kurt last year. I can't remember. Maybe a little bit of Rob. Hey Brentwood. It's just me, and I wish I was just a little smaller, but apparently that's not an option. But Clay's trying to find a cord for his microphone. Apparently it got bent. He's working on it. Oh, good. Taking a short nap, as he should. I'm glad he's over 70K. That's awesome. What time did he start? No, Brentwood, they aren't any fun, and I don't like being here, like so big in everybody's face. It makes me slightly uncomfortable, but that's okay. Can I hear you now? Nope. Nothing. Nope.
How about now?
Now, yes. There you are. Let's do
Did that work?
this. Yes. It is 2 a.m. his time. When did he go on? 2 a.m. his time? Talking about Ian. At midnight his time last night. Aw, sweet. So EDB joined him. That's nice. Very sweet. So Clay, how you doing? I can't hear you. I can't hear a word you're saying. Y'all were trying. I'm sorry. Nope, nothing. Yes, 2 a.m. Eastern would be correct. Nope. Clay, you were there for like I hate it when he does that. Can I make myself smaller any way, shape, or form? No? Nothing? All right, cool. Hi. Clay's coming. We had him for a second. I'm not sure what's going on. Is your mute Your mute. Your mic muted. Yeah, 2 a.m. Rob time. That would be 2 a.m. our time too. You can come up here, Clay, if you need to. Just grab a stool, pop on up. You don't have your notes, I guess, but nope.
All right. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
yes, I can hear. Wait, you're in and out. Try it again.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think apparently my cord got pulled. I don't know what, but I think it messed up the receptacle and the male and the female plug.
Gotcha.
So may need to get a new mic.
No, you need a new cord, not a new mic.
I think it messed up the female end too. When the
Is
cord
that
got
from? Well, pulled out shouldn't be unless you jammed it
it
in there
didn't.
too quick. Lost you again. You just moved something. Clay. Clay. No sound. Clay. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Y'all, I'm sorry. You had it going on, then you quit. What happened? You grabbed a cord. Just forget the sure and go to your mic from your computer. Moffat. We're getting there, guys. I'm sorry. So, what's everybody been doing? How's your weekend? Anything fun going on? Hey, Riri. We have something fun going on. Tallulah is now in heat again, which is always fun. And she's like pawing on me. She's looking for a really cool boyfriend right now. Still can't hear you. Need to cut the mic to the shore. If I could hear him, I would tell you what he was saying, but I have no idea. I assume he's saying that's what I'm trying to do. Can you unplug it from the USB? No. Oh, Green Bean would be jealous. Oh, don't tell Green Bean about Tallulah. Yeah, I know, right? Because she's hunting. I was told I had to like take so much time between her last birth because she's had 2 litters, and then her then spaying her. So we got to live through this one more time, which is all kinds of fun because she's like a lunatic, by the way. I was talking to you on the mic before. Have you disconnected every other mic and added your AirPods? Y'all, I'm gonna go help him out. I'm gonna be right back. Hang on.
Can you hear me now? Do we have sound?
Yes, you do.
Well, that was fun. Did y'all miss me? Ellen, keep y'all sufficiently entertained? Brentwood, not even close. I mean, watching people give all this money to sick kids can't compare. There's an argument to be made there that might have a valid point. But can we hear Ellen? Can you speak, Ellen? All right. I may have to go upstairs and help Ellen. We'll do a simulcast if I can get her down here. I don't know why she went back upstairs. Come on. Carson, my second child spent a month in the stollery, so Runkle's stream and donations are meaningful to me. I get that. All right, Ellen. All right, everybody. In unison, we're going to yell at Ellen and tell her to come down.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Can you hear me now?
That's no improvement. Moving your hair doesn't increase the volume.
Can y'all hear me or just not Clay? Settings.
Ellen, come on down here.
Stop it. Oh, here we go. How about now?
That's much better.
See, I know how to work my AirPods.
Helps when they work.
Good, you're loud.
All right.
You're still loud.
Interesting start. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope it was as fun for you as it was for us.
Yeah, sorry. 22 minutes in and we're just now getting going.
I want to say an interesting night ahead, but the way it started off, I'm more attuned to say an irritating night ahead. We wanted to talk about, kind of have a recap review of Sam, talk about some things going on with FTX, the trial judge, the future trial coming up. Brentwood, we are professionals with one mic, down to a one mic house.
Hey, you can hear me. I'm good.
Yeah.
The trick was, Clay, you have to set your StreamYard to AirPods. That's why.
I did not mess with StreamYard.
That's why. I just figured that out in 2 seconds.
I thought it just took whatever the input was from the computer. Didn't even think about it.
Nope.
Well, interesting.
Now that we bored y'all for a good 20 minutes.
Thank you for your patience. It is much appreciated. Y'all are great.
Yes, we do appreciate it. Was it the hair flip?
Yeah. Well, when I've talked about Sam in the past, we'll go ahead and get started with the fun and frivolity. It's about damn time. when I'm talking about Sam and the goings on at FTX, one thing that always struck me, even from the very beginning, was that it was more like a money laundering operation than, a crypto broker, investment firm, a hedge fund, whatever other titles they tried to appropriate for themselves.
True.
It just seemed more like a way to process loads of money. And there have been some things come out this week about our own government in terms of money laundering. So money laundering is going to be a hot topic for the night. I'm going to review a little bit about what's going on with the we'll talk about Sam and his activities. Ellen, you okay?
Yeah, I was trying to find my hat and I can't find it. Ooh,
Oh,
I got too
we're
many
just
of them.
making all sorts of little noise there, little sounds.
Well, at least I'm making some. You were making none before. So
I don't know what's better. Now, over the past week, Representative James Comer in the Wall Street Journal.
hang on. Your second child's been a month in the stollery, so Runkle stream it. Good. I am so sorry. But Runkle does a lot of good work.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, I can't imagine not being able to hold my baby. That would kill me. I'm sorry.
Especially when they're little and they don't understand.
Yeah.
Now, the idea of this is not so much the politics of it all, but certain principles and the impact on the country. So, is there really a chance that the president gets impeached, then convicted, removed from office? Of course, that will give us the well-known Vice President Harris ascending to the throne.
I don't vote for that.
So, we need to be aware of what's going on, the probability. Again, understanding and having some information as to what's going on is always better than not. So, this is not really a political issue as much as it is, how will it impact the country? What are the chances and probabilities? So we're going to take a brief look at the information. Both Representative Comer, who's the head of the Biden committee, and the Wall Street Journal have detailed what they argue is a flow of cash from Russian oligarchs, from Ukrainian oligarchs, from Chinese companies, through a number of different companies and Biden family members. These flows following what would, in one stark example, only be labeled as a shakedown text to the Chinese firm, for example. Now it begins with, let me get this. Well,
You all right, Clay?
Yeah, just the video's not working. It begins with the campaign when he was running for office, when in one of the debates, and I have video of it, but I'm just not going to push it now. The show must go on. When Biden clearly stated that he had no knowledge or no influence, dealings, whatever, with Hunter's business. Well, since then, Representative Comer has produced a few checks made out to President Biden. For example, this one in $200,000, or this one for $40,000 from his brother. So the trail starts with a WhatsApp message to a CEFC company exec. Now, CEFC is a Chinese company that is closely affiliated with, controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, the ruling party, the government of China. He was chastising him, demanding his $10 million payment. Here's the text, or one of the texts that he sent. Z is the individual's name, Raymond Zhao. Says, I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled.
Now, that's from Hunter, right?
That's from Hunter
Okay.
to Zhao. And then he followed it up with this. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. All too often, people mistake kindness for weakness. All too often, I am standing over top of them saying, I warned you. From this moment until whenever he reaches me, it 9:45 a.m. here, and I assume 9:45 p.m. there. So this night is running out. So that's some pretty strong statements by Hunter. He sent those on WhatsApp, and the committee has the records. It looked to have worked, actually, because within a few days, the CEFC, who controls a subsidiary called Northern International Capital, sent $5 million to Hudson West, a company owned by Hunter and a CFC associate. In fact, the committee has actually been able to track the flow of this from Northern Capital, CEFC, $5 million to Hudson West, which was owned jointly by Hunter and Zhao. And then from there, $400,000 was sent to Owasco, which is wholly owned by Hunter. Well, Owasco then wired $150 to the Lion Hall Group. Now, these are two of the shell companies that we talked about previously. The Biden family, close family, has over 20 shell companies established. So these are two of the shell companies. They really have no ongoing business. They just serve as a receptacle for cash flows. So wired $150K to Lion Hall Group. This is James Biden and his wife, Sarah. James is Joe's brother, who then Sarah took out $50,000 and deposited it in their personal account, and then wrote the check for $40,000 to Joe. And if you remember the comment from months ago, where Hunter is talking to someone and he says, 10% for the big guy. If you'll notice, $40K is 10% of the $400K that Hunter received. So that's not definitive proof, but that's a hell of an interesting coincidence. So now the word loan is on the check. Right down here, loan repayment. But the administration, after repeated requests, has refused to hand over any loan documents between the president and his brother James or any other family member. So it's not quite a stellar moment in the most transparent administration in history.
Clay,
Yes, ma'am.
we've got 2 gifted memberships. Melissa gifted one to Catherine Frazier.
Well,
Thank
thank you,
you,
Melissa.
Melissa. And then Catherine gifted one to Junior Foster, 1999. Thank you guys so much.
That's very sweet. Do appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all are some great people. You really are.
Yes.
And despite the irritation over the mic thing,
Clay's
really do
trying to
enjoy.
get back on track. I think he was really rattled from all that, and he's trying to get his thoughts back in order.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm not a fan of when I have machine issues, equipment issues. I'm a lot more patient with human issues, but machines I have little patience for. Anyway, the $200,000 check that you're viewing here now, in 2018, James, Joe's brother, received $600,000 from a failing hospital company named AmeriCorps. Now, AmeriCorps. This is taken from the bankruptcy papers of AmeriCorps. And in it, they state that they paid the $600,000, quote unquote, in a loan based upon representations that his last name, Biden, could open doors and that he could obtain a large investment from the Middle East based on his political connections. So they were basically buying access. Now, they even go on and talk about how the company AmeriCorps provided James with business cards reflecting his position with the firm as a principal to assist and further the fundraising efforts. So the same day that James received the $600,000 check, he wrote Joe the $200,000 check. Isn't it kind of fascinating how these checks to Joe are written the same day that a large cash flow hits his account or Hunter's account, whatever? So the White House obviously at first argued that Joe had no interest, relationship, or association with the family businesses, whatever they may be. But it's changed its story from it didn't know of or participate in the business dealings to no, Joe didn't profit from their business ventures. So did he know? Did he not know? He obviously knew. Now the question is, did he profit? So there are some
Hey, Carrie Bear.
Hey, Carrie Bear. The key words, only be able to listen.
That's
There's
all right.
so much I could unpack there, but I won't do it.
What is that about? What do you mean?
Because I couldn't talk to begin with.
Oh, true.
So
I mean, we had a rough start, Carrie Bear's mom. I mean, we just started like a few minutes ago because we had mic problems and all freaking kinds of issues. So anyway.
So what I'm popping up here is an additional resource on the Oversight Committee's website. I'll actually post it for anybody that's interested in going through it. But it details and has a lot of links, interactive timeline of the pay for play schemes, the Biden's dealings with foreign countries, which is pretty exhaustive. Key findings from IRS whistleblowers. It has a copy of an FBI investigation and confidential informant giving information, which is fairly telling if it's accurate. So, this has a lot of information and, some nice little pictures. Here is, one of the details on, or flow charts basically, on the payments from China to Hunter to the unknown Biden, as it's labeled here. There are more. Here's, the steps that they went through. So it's got some pretty, detailed with dates, dollar amounts. They've got the receipts. And this is probably why the new House Speaker Johnson was saying a couple days ago, earlier this week, that it is very likely that impeachment will begin soon. So this is...
I'm not sure that I'm ready for that. I'm not sure that I want Kamala to be the things. I'm trying to gift memberships on your page, and apparently I'm not allowed to. I don't know why. Because I would like for Carson and Carrie Berry's mom to have one, but I cannot do it. And I don't know why.
Don't know. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. That's my fault. My bad.
Oh, the impeachment. One interesting thing about the impeachment, if they impeach Joe, obviously Kamala moves into the White House. But do you know who the next in line is? Speaker of the House, Johnson.
Ooh, okay.
So maybe they can throw in a 2-for-1 impeachment. I don't know. Whatever. But things are about to get more interesting here. And what would, if that situation came about, if Kamala was moving into the White House, what would that do to the markets? What would that do to...
Kill him?
I think it'd be rough. What would that do to the possibility of greater wars? I'm not certain. I honestly, I've got to do some more digging and research on it, but it's a very real risk to the markets in a lot of ways. So, that's something that I will start to look at closer and try to do a little bit more, research and effort on. And there's one other aspect that I think is real interesting, is that, we know a lot of the money that has been sent to Ukraine has ended up in the hands of some of the oligarchs there. We know some of the equipment has been sold off for cash. And those oligarchs, in turn, had financial relationships with, guess what company? Anybody out there saying FTX? Which in turn funneled the money to politicians around the world.
Well, I think Soros was the biggest contributor to Democratic politicians. And then second
was a very large contributor to politicians.
And the second was
Sam.
FTX, SBF.
Now, Sam has a trial coming up in March. Most people aren't aware of this, but he's going to be tried on money laundering and illegal contributions. So, wondering, kind of in the back of my mind, if some of this potentially may not come out then. Sam's judge has held off the sentencing till March, which is an interesting date to me. I'm not sure that it normally takes 6 months to sentence somebody. 5 months. But why March? Well, his trial, if I've got the dates correctly, and that they're not moved, his trial will be over by then. So what if he turns state's evidence on some of his political contributions in exchange for a reduced sentence? I don't know any of this for certain, but it's just funny. There's a whole lot of coinkydinks going on all at once. So it would be just fascinating if all this ended up being intertwined. We could host a hell of a lot of shows on that. Have some fun with that. So, sum it up, Comer's last statement on the issue, we ain't done yet. there's more to come.
Well,
Much
all
more
of
to
the,
come.
and I'm sorry, I'm half paying attention. I've got my grandfather's texting me and other people and stuff. It's just, I apologize, y'all. I think the whole thing with the mic kind of got me frustrated and discombobulated as well. But I had a point. ADHD is so not fun. No, at the oversight committee, I think there are so many different ties to China, Ukraine, Russia, right? We are continuously funding Ukraine for a war they've already lost, in my opinion, in lots of people's opinion. And then we're still dealing with China, still like bowing down to Putin, and it just doesn't seem right because, as we know, I mean, the situation in Israel between them and the Palestinians is getting super duper crazy. We're still giving money to Ukraine. I've said this before. Russia backs Lebanon. Lebanon is with Hezbollah is going to kick in to support Palestine. China supports Russia and their support of Lebanon. We're going to be in World War III. That's my opinion. Now that is just my opinion, but we are headed so close to it because I think that a lot of these payoffs, especially with Hunter, and this, I saw this a year or two ago, selling the rights to all of the like cobalt and the very essential minerals for lithium ion batteries to China all over the world, in Africa and other places.
Ellen,
Yeah,
you're kind
Gosh.
of wandering.
I do that. Sorry.
Yeah, let's focus, babe. In terms of World War III, I think the chances probably have reduced somewhat this week or last few weeks. I'm seeing more and more reports out where, for example, I was telling somebody a couple months ago that Ukraine just doesn't have enough men to keep fighting against Russia. They're losing all their young men. They're running out of men, literally. Russia has an endless supply of men to keep throwing at the front lines. So that's one thing. Two, their vaunted offensive has gained 0 yards. The Russians are holding what they want. Now I'm starting to hear whispers from Western countries are starting to pressure Ukraine to sue for peace. Most people don't know, but some time ago, Russia and Ukraine, Zelensky had actually agreed on terms of peace to stop the fighting. And Biden pressured Zelensky to continue the war, to turn down the peace offer. So, maybe the pressure could be put on him to go back to the peace table and accept the status quo. Russia would be, in my opinion, glad to end this because it's terribly expensive for them.
We got to do the chats. We got quite a few. You might be surprised.
Yeah. So I think that the chances for war are somewhat reduced. All right, chats. Brentwood, it's all dirty dealings. Yes. Things have gotten terribly corrupt and misguided, not only in our government, but around the world. Carrie Berry's mom, they need a federal sentencing report that normally that's about 3 months. I had to pull over. Well, thank you. So if they're waiting to March to sentence Sam, you've got the month of November, December, January, February, then March. That's 5 months. So that's a little long to me. Kind of tied into his trial for the illegal donations, contributions, money laundering.
I'm not sure which trial she's talking about. If she's talking about Biden or she's talking about Sam.
Sentencing report is what she said. Carson,
Federal. Okay.
20 minutes behind. Harris was used so that there was a poison pill in any impeachment process.
I agree.
That's very possible. Very possible. There was a reason she was chosen, and that's as good as any I've heard so far. Melissa, our dear friend who works in NatSec and gets the inside scoop, believes we will be entering World War III as well.
I think it's coming.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear if their views had moderated some this week. Brentwood Sheik.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Hamas put out a statement saying there's nothing. The only solution is taking out Israel. That's it. That's all they will allow. Nothing else.
Yeah, but Russia doesn't give two flips about that.
Not Russia, Hamas.
Yeah, Russia doesn't. I'm talking about World War III. Russia doesn't give two flips about that.
But
they have a military that's built strictly for defensive purposes. That's why they've struggled so much in Ukraine. They have a hard time carrying out offensive operations.
That's not.
They have very poor logistics.
Not what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, talking about chances for World War III.
Yeah, Hezbollah is in.
If it looks like they can get out of Ukraine and have some peace, their military has been socked. They've lost
I'm not
a ton of
talking about
stuff
Russia.
in Ukraine.
I'm not talking about Russia.
I am.
Yeah, I hear you, Melissa. That's what I'm thinking too. Because if Hezbollah and then Hamas and all of the other Arab nations do not leave Israel alone, America is going too far back.
Yeah, but that won't exactly.
I'm sorry.
That won't exactly be World War III.
It will if China gets into it.
I don't think China has the ability to move troops or ships that far. They've got.
They're already there.
Well, they have some ships, but they're small ships.
Okay.
They don't have the ability. They don't have the ability to transport a lot of men.
I'm with you and your friend Melissa, or your friend Melissa. I totally agree.
And they have nothing to gain. They're focused on Taiwan. What Russia and China want to see is the U.S. weakened. And so if the U.S. spends money and munitions, even men in the Middle East, they're happy.
China is dying to get into this war. They are looking for every excuse possible.
What makes you think that?
Because they have gone after okay, well, what about this? What about this? They're getting their little paws in everything. I don't mean paws like they're not human.
What makes you think they want to go to war?
Because they've been trying to find a way to get into the Israeli war or the Ukraine war. Either one, they'll take it.
They're not trying to get in it. They're just trying to stir it up. That's different. They want the U.S. involved in chaos.
Okay.
We'll see. But they don't, how are they going to transport men and machinery?
Pretty sure they have missiles that can go that far.
They have missiles, so they're going to just go ahead and nuke the whole Middle East and us?
They might.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Hope not. But
it's a possibility.
That reminds me of Jim Carrey in that movie. When the girl said, he asked, what are the chances you would go out with me? And she said, no, probably 1,000,000 to 1. And so Carrie's sitting there looking at her going, so you're saying there's a chance? Well, talking about switching to Sam, the well-known, now convicted felon, convicted of 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. Judge Kaplan set his sentencing for March the 24th, last week in March. Now, Sam faces up to 110 years in prison. So what will the sentence be? What will the judge see as kind of an appropriate sentence? Well, there are 3 things. 1, that give us a clue as to Kaplan's view on it. One, Kaplan denied Sam's release from jail to prepare for a trial. So we can gather Kaplan probably is not a huge fan. He reprimanded or, pulled it because Sam was accused of tampering with a few witnesses. Kaplan also, I think, understands somebody hacked FTX's servers and stole $477 million as it was collapsing. Now, the choices of who had the passwords are limited. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Also, as I mentioned, Sam has a trial coming up in a few months on paying a $40 million bribe to Chinese officials and conspiring to make more than 300 illegal political donations in the U.S. That one has some potential as well, because if he's paying bribes to Chinese officials, do you think he's too principled to pay them to us, to the U.S. officials, to our government officials? So, I already alluded or mentioned the fact that Kaplan has delayed his trial to March as well. So it makes me wonder if there is a deal in the works. Don't know. Now, also remember, talked about how Kaplan had that dismissed the jury and had the discussions with Sam and his attorneys, the prosecution, about Sam starting to blame or involve the attorneys in terms of their involvement aspects of running FTX's operation, their involvement with decision making. So Sam didn't mention that again. He left that angle. I wonder why. He was kind of gung-ho on it when he first mentioned it and brought it up. Never alluded to it again. Never mentioned it again. It played no role in the defense beyond his first initial comments. One other thing I saw or came across was Kaplan wrote an article in 2007 about corporate crime, white-collar criminals. He said, crimes committed by white-collar criminals out of a studied calculation of likely cost and benefits of engaging in the criminal behavior perhaps are especially reprehensible. So what does that tell you about Kaplan's view of white-collar criminals? Things are looking a little bleaker for Sam as far as, severity of sentencing. And then there's always the question of what happened to the $477 million stolen from FTX accounts. Well, we ain't done yet. Elliptic and some others, CoinDesk, ZebWeb, some individuals have detailed some of this pretty extensively. And so kind of what I've been able to piece together is that as FTX was folding November 12th, 2022, literally right after filing for bankruptcy, FTX's wallet was drained of the $477 million in various cryptocurrencies, including Tether, Pax Gold, Wrapped Bitcoin. And Wrapped Bitcoin is simply a ERC20 coin, Ethereum backed 1-to-1 by Bitcoin. So it allows you to trade a Bitcoin-like token with a lot more flexibility. Some other coins were Ethereum, Binance, Uni, even Shib. So that was a funny selection to me. But anyway, the hack was announced on FTX's Telegram channel by one of the mods. And he said, FTX has been hacked. All funds seem to be gone. This was interesting. FTX apps are malware. Delete them. don't go on FTX site as it might download Trojans. So that was kind of an, interesting comment. FTX apps are malware. That's something that didn't come up in the trial. Something that wasn't mentioned. Are they saving it for the next trial? The money laundering trial? Don't know. Now, whoever stole the tokens began the process of laundering them almost immediately, trying to ensure they couldn't be seized by authorities. Now, some like stablecoins, however, are try to maintain $1 per share value. They don't have the volatility. The idea is to ease, transition and give a stable transition, in cryptocurrency. For example, Tether. Out of the 477 million, Tether was about 32 million. And stable coins are generally controlled by a central location, a central server. So they were able, John Ray, the authorities, whoever, was able to freeze those coins before they could be processed and laundered. The native coins, those coins with no central processor who are on a distributed network, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin runs on 1 million computers. There's no one person, one authority that you can go to recoup stolen tokens like you can with Tether. You go to Tether's programmers, say, these coins were stolen. Here's my credentials. They'll lock those coins up and return them. Nobody like that on a distributed, decentralized network where you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of computers that the program runs on. Those are called native coins. They're kind of like out in the wild, running native. Now, the thief, in order to prevent any more from being locked up, exchanged the ones with a central processing system, exchanged them for distributed network coins like Ethereum. And they used decentralized exchanges called a DEX, DEX, distributed exchange. A DEX is just a description for a system that doesn't have a central processing platform. Like a bank is easy to hack because it has one central computer. You hack in that one computer, you can alter the accounts, you're going. Well, in a decentralized network with 1 million computers, you have to hack 1 million computers at once. That's pretty impossible. So the DEX uses kind of an automated market maker system. The trades are processed automatically. You don't have to identify yourself. You don't have to give any, personal information. It just takes the coins and distributes them, buys, sells them, matches buyers and sellers. It's a blind transaction system, which breaks the larger amount into smaller amounts in processing by the system. That makes it harder to track. It's an anonymous system. It's harder to track. The funds can't be flagged or frozen. It's harder to track. So the number of transactions, even though it's still on a blockchain, the number of transactions that are ongoing at that particular time makes it hard, if not somewhat impossible to track. Now, once the thief had the assets relatively safe from seizure, they were then run through something called a cross chain. And a cross chain can move them to different blockchains. It breaks the trail and makes them more difficult to trace. Ellen has joined us again.
Sorry, I had to I just got the message that I'm getting an echo. My grandfather had a fried spam sandwich for dinner.
Was he happy?
No, he hates spam. He hates bologna. He hates hot dogs. He doesn't like anything that's not healthy. Sorry. It just really
I'm sorry for your grandfather.
rubbed me the wrong way. And they were celebrating it. So that just really, his steps, and that really. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm sorry.
Take care of your people. Take care of your parents, grandparents. We just bought, I don't blame them either. Cachava shakes, and we got him a Ninja blender to make them in, and he's thrilled because he was asking me like, they don't feed me that well here. They don't make, or buy me foods that are good for me. And he's 96 years old, and I'm sorry, that just pisses me off to no end. And when they were celebrating that they made him a fried spam sandwich, I just really wanted to come through the computer and through my iPad and just kill someone. It wasn't about you or anything.
Yeah,
I was just, I guess you can kill that, but my thing, he's always been so healthy in what he eats. And now I feel like he has very little control over it. And that is just irritating me to no end.
I get it. She loves him a lot, and she takes some of these things very personal, as some of these affronts to him. She takes them as very personal. So,
Sorry.
Let me just see if I can, I guess, simplify or make this a little bit more direct. The thief, whoever it is trying to launder the coins. Some of the coins could be locked up. So he took the remainder of the ones who could be locked up and went through different cross chains or dexes in order to try to convert them to coins that could not be locked up. And there are different processes. I was going to explain the process, but it may get a little old. If y'all are interested in some of this stuff in more detail, I'll be glad to do it. But for now, I'm just going to do Cliff Notes. The thief, 3 days later, had basically 245,000 Ethereum coins. Now, 245,000. That's worth, in today's dollars, the current exchange rate, about $453 million. Now, the coins that he had, the Ethereum coins that he had, laid dominant for 5 days. Didn't move them. Then he transferred 65,000 to Renbridge, which actually was a company owned by Alameda. Kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. This Renbridge is just a bridge to other crypto exchanges. It's just a way to efficiently, more cheaply transfer coins to other exchanges.
They're owned by Alameda.
Yeah, they were owned by Alameda. They've since been shut down, but this was, 5, 6, 7 days after the bankruptcy, so some of the subsidiaries were still running, and Renbridge was one of those that was still running. Now, and the goal was to try to switch some of the coins to Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin has a large number of mixers or tumblers. They mix your Bitcoin with other coins and then cut it up and split it out in smaller accounts. Now, this graph might be a little hard to see, but you don't have to pay attention to the details. The idea is you've got the coins that were stolen from FTX and FTX US. You had the thief steal them. And then they ran them through these DEXs who got different currencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then he ran these, particularly the Bitcoin, for example, through chip mixer. And then chip mixer takes, if you had 100,000 coins, chip mixer will take your 100,000 coins with somebody else that has 50,000, somebody else has 25,000, somebody, people that have 5,000, just mix them all together in a big pool. And then from that pool, it then distributes them into smaller accounts. And that is what is extremely difficult. That's one step that is extremely difficult to track, because you can't tell whether your money is going to this account or somebody else's money is going to this account. And you don't know how much of it is who.
They had no ledgers.
They don't have the, the transaction ledgers that they can follow. So tracing these assets is far, far more difficult. And much of it, we're pretty certain, has been cashed out. Now, there are some people that have dedicated a lot of time and effort to this. This is one Twitter post that has been able to account for 4 million, which was sent to OKX. And these are the accounts and the amount. Remember, I told you that he sent, let's see. He sent 2,800 Bitcoin, and 2,800 Bitcoin was roughly about $100 million. And see how it takes that 2,800 coins and divvies them up into small accounts? Extremely difficult to track. I don't even know how these guys came up with this, but this is less than 4 million out of 100, so 4% of the total. But still, I thought it was kind of impressive. And they detail some of the process here. So if you're interested, I can send this to you, but stand with the cliff notes. Now, the interesting part, the 180,000 Ethereum tokens that weren't converted remain dormant for a year. Now, that account was worth about 300 million, and it remained dormant until September 30th, 2023, a week ago. Isn't that interesting? Nobody touched the coins, nobody moves the coins until Sam's trial. And then about 73,000 coins were converted to Bitcoin and washed through Sinbad, another mixer. Chip mixer actually was shut down by German authorities, charged with laundering ransomware. So Germany was able to shut it down. Some others have risen in its place, one of them by the name of Sinbad. So lays dormant for a year, then all of a sudden during Sam's trial, 100 million is moved. So who's behind the theft? Obviously, it was probably an inside job. You needed the passwords. Some people, and I've kind of thought it was Sam himself, but he's had limited access to the internet during the trial. And it kind of fits with the funds being dormant because he's had limited access to the internet. He's been wearing the bracelet everywhere he goes. Every time he logs in at the house, they've been tracking it. But on the 4th at 3:41 p.m., 15 million was moved, and Sam was in court without internet access. So, a couple things. Either he has an accomplice or it's an external actor. Could be Russian, could be North Korean, whatever. John Ray said in one of his releases that the private keys, which allowed access to the wallets in which the coins were stored for FTX, were available in unencrypted form, which, could have been easily hacked. In fact, a former employee, Brentwood, where were his parents? I think that's the question we could ask for the past 30 years or however old he is.
I think they were complicit.
Yeah. Ellen thinks they were complicit. I don't know if y'all were able to hear that or not.
I'm sorry, y'all.
She's hurting. And I am sorry.
I know.
But this guy is a former employee of FTX.
Thank you, Brentwood.
Thank you, Brentwood. If he has a secret accomplice, do you think he'd be able to keep his trap shut about it? That's a fair point. But for, I don't know, $400 million or a portion of that?
They are deep in it.
Yeah. I do believe they are. Well, this guy who's a former employee for FTX talked about in this thread how oftentimes, for example, Alameda Trader got phished while trying to complete a DeFi transaction, clicked on a fake link, cost $100 million. Post-mortem, implemented extra checks on our internal wallet software. They didn't really change anything. They just started checking the balances a little bit more. We started yield farming on a blockchain of questionable legitimacy. Creator ended up holding our funds hostage. We had months of prolonged negotiations. Cost $40 million. Remember I told you Sam was going on trial for $40 million, where he had to bribe a Russian official to get the monies freed? Boom. Postmortem, decided to be more careful about which chains or protocols we trade on. Again, no change. No change in the software, no strengthening the software, no strengthening. Incident number 3. Plaintext keys file was leaked, likely by a former employee. Attacker transferred funds out of some exchanges and placed bad orders. Cost $50 million. Postmortem, migrated our secret keys to a more secure storage system. So he just goes on the list. Goes down the list.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm You're honorary grandpa. That's so cute. I'm sorry I'm a mess. I know. If you have an older person in your life, please make sure they're taken care of. Someone that you love. This has been a harsh reality recently. And like I said before, he's my hero. And it just, when people brag about feeding him spam sandwiches, it just really, fried spam sandwiches, it just really derails me. I've given them a what for, don't worry. And we had, do you mind, can I share this? There was a conversation last night between me and the stepdaughters, and they said, why doesn't he trust us as much as he trusts you? I'm like, because I'm his freaking granddaughter and you've known him for 7 years. I've known him for 47. We were apart for a bit of time because my mother is a shit show. I mean, my grandfather said that he was going to leave my mother 6 $1 bills, 6 dimes, and 6 pennies in his will. Yes, she is that bad. His daughter, my mother. So just love the people that you respect who are older. Take care of them. Check on them. Make sure that they're okay. Make sure that they aren't living a life that was not meant for them, or living a life. I mean, I just got the text. He's eaten like this ever since I've known him. Maybe not before. I'm like, for 7 years? No. For 40 years that I've known him, he's always eaten fresh fruits and vegetables and actual meat. Yeah, this is not okay with me at all. It will never be okay with me. He's 96. Let's let him live.
I remember I met my only time eating Spam. Met an old friend that I'd gone to school with, hadn't seen in 15 years. Invited over for dinner, and she served Spam.
She's trying to kill you. And I'm not saying that if you're in a desperate situation that you should.
No,
Spam.
I'm just saying I was kind of like him, ate relatively healthy, but it tore up my system for a while. It's not something you should eat if you don't do heavy grease, because it's mostly lard, grease, fat, whatever.
So let's fry it, put it on a sandwich.
Yeah. So I seriously can empathize with the guy.
And he just has no control over it right now.
No.
And I'm trying to fix that. It's just not as easy as it may seem to some, but we're working on it.
Well, let me finish this up. We'll just have a quick night. All told, about 150 million was stolen from Alameda. Not an insignificant loss. So moving the money during the trial is a ballsy move. Most launderers want to do it in the shadows. They don't want to do it and get attention. They don't want attention drawn to them. They don't want to be in the public's eye. They want attention focused elsewhere. Well, whoever did this wants attention. They waited till the attention was back on. It's kind of like catch me if you can. Very interesting. Now, somebody alluded earlier about the parents. So what's next for the Freeds?
I think it was Brentwood.
Can law enforcement long ignore how involved his parents were? They involved FTX on legal matters, tax matters. They were gifted houses and cash in the tens of millions of dollars. I mean, there's no real plausible deniability, in my opinion. They were likely the ones advising them to pay everything out in loans instead of salary. They were gifted a $16 million, Bahamas villa with FTX money. And I don't think they have given it back or wanted to give it back. They worked with some dark money pools and political operations, which he likely gave money to. That's part of what I'm wondering if coming up in next March. They are involved in a civil suit instigated by FTX trying to recover the money that they refused to give back. Like I said, we ain't done yet. So, this is kind of an amazing, to me, somewhat of an amazing coincidence or whatever of things coming together.
That's true, Brentwood. There's no way they did not know. There's no way they weren't complicit in what he was doing.
Yeah.
They had to advise him in some way, shape, or form. There's just no way they didn't.
Yeah. I firmly believe that. And I'm thinking with a little bit of attention, a little bit of investigative ability, that wouldn't be such a difficult thing to demonstrate in court.
Hang on, they know I'm in tears. They're freaking out.
Yeah. So
They will. I know. Okay. Tilda gets very upset when she knows I'm crying.
and Chunk gets very upset when Toulou's upset.
Mhm. It's okay. Okay, you get the eyes.
So
Thank you.
y'all really do, love y'all. But I think
I'm sorry that this has gotten personal for me tonight. I really do. But continue on. I mean, we'll be fine. We'll sit here and do our thing. But I guess the big takeaway from me tonight is just love your family. I'm fine, Brentwood. I'm just, when I'm angry, I cry. That's it. I don't know what else to say. When I'm angry or I'm sad, I cry. And that's just, I'm a mess. But if y'all are okay with us staying on, that is not your time. I know that Clay has got a lot more to say. I know, buddy. They all want mama. Okay, I know. Thank you. David's going to cry. But it makes me laugh. Mm-hmm.
this has just been a weird night. I just don't know any other way to put it. Kind of a weird evening.
Keep going. It's okay.
Um,
I'm just gonna be back here behind the bus.
Well, at least mention a couple other things. Because we alluded to the fact that markets have been, in my humble opinion, a little irrational. Yeah, we do love y'all. Y'all are just great people. Y'all are great encouragement to us, and your support, encouragement, your fellowship is greatly appreciated. I am not kidding. But this is a money channel. I almost feel obligated to try to at least give you a little bit of perspective in that regard. There is one market that has been kind of crazy so far, and I think it's going to get even crazier, and that's the real estate market. Don't know if y'all saw this or not, but a jury in Kansas City this week found the standard commission of 6%, with 3% being paid to the seller's agent. Jury found that amounted to collusion to inflate real estate fees, and awarded $1.78 billion
Wait, say that again?
to the plaintiffs. A jury found that the commission structure in real estate,
6% is always what it is, 3 to 3.
it amounts to collusion.
No, that's not how that works. That is just.
Well, now let me just finish before you get all excited. The suit was brought by a guy by the name of Jared Bright, police officer, who was selling his home. And he said it was understandable that he needed to pay a commission to his broker, but the buyer's broker too. He said, quote, "It's one of the things the system doesn't tell you to think about. It's just how it is," he said. "It wasn't until after I sold my house in 2017 that it really made me think about that other 3% I was paying to someone that I'd never met, I will never meet, and did nothing for me."
Wait.
It's the only system, the only industry in the United States where two competitors get together, they set the compensation, and they split it, he said, adding, "They're running it like a cartel." The jury agreed. Under antitrust laws, the award of $1.78 billion could be tripled.
Okay, wait. Because
Your
I've
turn.
been real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. 3% and 3%. Every brokerage advertises every house, no matter who is representing it or who is the buyer, the seller's, I guess, agent or whatever, because they're trying to help them sell their house.
It's collusion.
It's not. But they're paying for the advertising, on both sides. They're paying to have their brokers come and tour the house.
I know. I'm just telling you what the jury said. what the
And
court said.
then the broker in charge gets half of whatever's left after the advertising and everything else. And then the agent actually gets a very small percent. Oh God, should have
I'm telling you
our neighbor in.
that is about to change.
Should I tell me?
Oh, they're probably all aware of it.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah. The whole industry is about to change.
Do you want to know who's gonna make more money?
Who?
The what my Dr. Dad is the person that goes and tells you what the value is.
Appraisers.
Thank you. Yes.
You know, the whole thing, like the having to have a new title search every time when the 3 or 4 previous titles have never been challenged.
If it's a clean title, it's
That's
a
kind of
clean
a
title.
racket.
Yeah.
My opinion. But the thing is, technology is making access to information better, quicker, cheaper, faster. You know, Zillow is putting up a lot of houses. You know, they're improving their valuation models. The industry's changing. Technology is marching on. And, you know, some of the old ways of doing things are not going to make it.
So you're saying that being a real estate agent is going
To be a lot more competitive.
competitive, or is it going to be just not even a thing?
I think it'll always be a thing, but,
Why?
you know, instead of, because one, a lot of buyers are absentee and they need somebody to show their house.
Not necessarily.
Well, they need somebody to show the house, to arrange the meetings, the times, the schedules, maintain the lockbox, whatever.
Okay, just an example.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved from Greenville, I sold my house from here, from Wilmington, and I had a lockbox on there. And whenever, even though I was pregnant, as God knows what, we just drove up there and showed the house.
Yeah.
So
But
I
you could
didn't
do it
pay
because you had a
anything.
key to the lockbox.
Well, 'cause I bought the lockbox.
But that's still going.
I didn't need a
You
real.
know, you
I
need
took
a-
a real estate class.
You can't leave a house and just leave it unlocked and let anybody wander through that wants
Well,
to.
of course not.
So you need somebody controlling access.
Don't you have a friend that
No,
can show
you
up?
don't want to
and-
pose a friend and have to advertise their number, and all of a sudden they're getting all these calls from people.
No, they're a neighbor. You put your number and you just call them and say,
Some people don't.
"Do you mind doing this?"
Some
'Cause
people don't.
I've never had a neighbor that wouldn't do that for me.
Well, certain neighborhoods, your neighbors live too far away, or you won't do it. I'm just saying, it's going to be a need for them. Now,
But how
the industry is changing.
are the banks gonna?
Industry is changing.
Okay.
I don't know every answer. Speaking of banks, good timing.
Thank you.
The Iowa Division of Banking closed Citizens Bank this past week due to significant loan losses that had not previously been identified.
Brentwood, real quick. I hear you.
I wouldn't want to do that all by myself. I'd rather have an agent. Yep. But you'll contract with the agent at a fair price.
The agent that I did have to sell a condo screwed me on $6,000. So I went back through the closing statement and fixed it. I'd suggest everyone take a real estate class.
Yeah.
It's not that long. It's like 2 months for a few hours. I just did it on Saturdays. And it will teach you so much about how all the taxes work and everything, because I was like, no, we're owed $6,000 that my agent missed.
Yeah, it is a fairly complex and ridiculous process. It's complex because there's a lot going on that they don't want people understanding or knowing what all's involved.
Correct.
Anytime there's complexity in a financial situation, it's not working out to you, the consumer's benefit, bottom line.
And everybody just turns their head.
Because they've been doing it that way for however many years. People just think that's the way it's done. They don't question it. They don't look for something different or better. They don't expect something different or better. That's why this channel exists, to try to give you information to help you do better. It's a complicated world. There's a lot of different things going on, a lot of different moving parts, pieces. It's not a simple education. I constantly learn things. And, my job is studying information. So I have a lot more time and effort keeping up with information than probably most of you do.
Which I want to hear about how a closing statement works. We can do that because it is not, it's not that difficult. It's kind of like accounting, one side, and it all should come out in the end the same. Because that's something that everyone should know and should look at when they're buying or selling a house to make sure that they're getting a fair shake.
Yeah, but keep an eye, and I'll keep an eye on this this trial, because if it's upheld, it's going to make some big changes. You're going to have a lot more flexibility, a lot more negotiating power if you go to a real estate agent and say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable with the standard terms." So,
And actually, if you go to an agent and you say, "You know what, I don't want to pay the full 6%. I'd rather pay 4%." A lot of times they'll work it out to where it's 2 and 2 instead of 3 and 3.
well, the same thing is this guy's arguing he shouldn't pay the seller because he never met the seller. Seller doesn't do anything for him.
But technically, right, if his agent had sold the house herself, she would get the full 6%. And then what
So
would
it
his
should
beef
be 3%. End of story.
But then all their advertising's gone and no one makes a thing.
Well, that's just it. They have to find a different way to reach the market if they want to earn their 3%.
True.
Um,
Brentwood's for the closing statement.
Yep. Now, the regulatory authority that closed the bank didn't detail what the loan losses were. They just said, quote, "The loans were out-of-state territory and an out-of-state loans to one industry." That's a euphemism for commercial real estate. I'm just saying. We've talked previously, repeatedly, about how small regional banks hold a bunch of commercial real estate loans and they are getting hammered. Okay. So to the small banks, those type of loans are a bigger percentage of their balance sheet. And so they have more risk per se if a loan does fold. Typical maturity of commercial real estate loans is going to be 3 to 5, 7, 10 years. Few of them 15, a few 20, but most of them are going to hover around 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, but they were priced every 3 to 4 or reassessed.
A lot of them are adjustable rate. So, if they have a loan that was priced 3 years ago and is maturing and they reprice it, it's going to price it 3 or 4 times higher than what it did.
And that's not just
Boom.
buildings. That's also what you borrow for other assets in commercial.
Yeah. And, this will remain an issue. I remember when SVB folded and what was the other one? Can't think of the name of the other big one that folded there back in March. But I said, this is not over. There might be a little lull, but this is not over. We are in the middle of a severe banking strain, and it won't take much to turn it into a banking crisis. It's something that you need to keep an eye on, particularly the momentum or frequency of how many banks are folding and if it's picking up. Now, we also saw SVB or something.
Something is the one we're trying to
Something is the one I'm trying to remember. Now, also I've seen where lending standards have greatly increased. Bank loan demand has crashed. Banks aren't making loans. Credit standards have risen so high, banks really don't want to make them. Demand is dropping, particularly like for, in mortgage industries. It's a bad combination. This is not the sign of a great economy. Keep that in mind.
You're probably going to go into it. I shouldn't say it.
What?
was going to say, there've been a lot of Gen Zs complaining about their finances and their loans and all this stuff, but I can't say that they don't have a reason to feel the way they do. I mean, we have screwed our own economy completely. And I get it. They're having to pay more for everything. So I can't say that, I disagree with them. We have really, the past has really screwed them. I mean, they have higher loan payments. They've got higher, they can't afford to buy anything, especially a house. Most of them can't afford rent because the payments are so high.
And, speaking of stress, in the economy, this week we also saw the household survey come out.
Oh, did we?
And if you'll notice, you remember a week ago, the payroll came out and it showed 336,000 new jobs being created. And we talked about that, how that was pretty much a shill.
Are these thousands?
That was from, yes, that was from the establishment survey. The establishment survey surveys businesses and asks them how many jobs they've created. It doesn't differentiate between full-times or part-time. So they could create a part-time or hire a part-time position. And for an individual, it would be his second or third job. Well, you can't pick that up in the establishment survey. What we did pick up was it reported 336,000 jobs created. Well, this is the household survey. This interviews actual families and asks, how many people do you have working in your household? Not how many jobs they have, how many people are working. And this showed 348,000 fewer people working in 1 month. The biggest drop since COVID. Not a sign of a great economy. We've seen mortgage delinquencies rise. Now, we know the mortgage market's kind of dying for new mortgages, particularly on existing houses. New construction still selling a little bit. But on mortgage delinquencies, there was a 9.4% increase in September in 30-day mortgage delinquencies. There's a nearly 11% increase in 60-day mortgage delinquencies. And keep in mind, those are on low interest rate mortgages.
Yeah, they're not new mortgages.
To boot. No, these are delinquencies on low interest rate mortgages. So what does that tell us? Car loan default rates have hit a 10 or 15-year high. Negative equity is surging and more loans are underwater. So have I mentioned all of this happened before student loans started up again?
Speaking of, if I forgot to make my car payment just on time, like the day of or before, they wouldn't let me know for over a week because sometimes I'm just flaky.
Right.
Now, the day after, they're like, "Where's your payment?"
Yeah.
I guess that's why they're doing that.
And they don't report you if you miss a payment. They report you when you're 30 days late from missing that payment. So, you being a week or two late doesn't show up in this. You being a month late, you being 2 months late, that's what they're catching.
I'm just saying they're calling me like the day
I know,
after.
I'm just explaining the data.
Yeah, which is just like, you've never done this before. Okay.
We're setting records. For example, multiple job holders hit a new record high at 8.35 million people. These are people that have a second or even third job. Some of them will have 2 full-time jobs. Another miracle of a great economy. Now, all this news, I tell you all this news because this week the market had a good week. The S&P gained 200 points or nearly 5%. Dow was up nearly 4.2%. NASDAQ was up 5.5% for the week. So a rather good week in the market.
Or those military companies?
No.
Okay. Thought maybe.
Now, what caused this? Melissa, I'm currently juggling 5 gigs. Wow. Just wow.
Bless you.
Yeah, bless you. Jay Powell, who my nickname or a common nickname for Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, made a speech this week, an anticipated speech, and in it he indicated that the Fed probably was done hiking. Though a lot of people, and based on his previous comments, had expected another 25 basis point hike. So the market got all excited.
What's a basis point?
Basis point is 1% of 1%. So 100 basis points are in 1%.
There you go.
So 25 basis points is a quarter of a point. Well, one of the governors on the Federal Reserve, Barkin, said he's seeing more and more evidence that middle income consumers are cutting spending. Target's president said he's seeing people buy less food and clothing. The key is that, Jay Powell said this and market got all excited, but they ignored the rest of his statement where he said that the sharply higher long-term rates that are being forced on the market, government borrowing, more uncertainty, more risk, will slow the economy. So he was saying the rates where they are already going to choke the economy. Past month, most Wall Street firms have been lowering their earnings expectations. The largest industry in the U.S., home building, is crashing. Banks are having a loan crisis. Zombie firms are having to refi at the higher rates. Corporate bankruptcies continue to rise, continuing to surge.
Remind people what zombie firms are.
Zombie firms are firms who, before taxes, barely make enough money to pay their interest. And that's with interest at the low rates. As the interest rate increases, their interest expense will increase, and they don't have the operating revenues to pay it. Hence, my term zombies. They're dead companies walking. October payrolls were up only 150,000. There was 180 expected, and this was down from the 336 in August.
So Target itself or all of them? I was just reading your. I'll shut up. Okay.
The August, we saw where August payrolls were 336. They were revised down. September's payrolls were revised down. Between those, there was a downward revision of $100,000, 100,000 jobs. All told, there have been 8 consecutive months of downward revision. And we're not done with the downward revisions. There's still more to come. So you will see the unemployment rate continue to rise. But the market was up. Normally the things that make the market go up are strong employment and increasing employment, a growing GDP in the private sector, not the government sector, decreasing inflation. What is now making the market go up? Weak employment, a shrinking GDP, a shrinking private sector.
It's about to blow up, y'all.
Increasing inflation, which if you noticed, inflation, as we have mentioned, is starting to tick back up again. So all that sounds bullish, doesn't it? So, yeah, the market's going up. The old adage is the market can be stupid stupider longer than you can be solid. So just understand what motivates the markets. There's still some people out there that hope that the Fed will cut rates severely and the companies will again have that run of free money. And Powell has said repeatedly, we're not going back to that because that's what got us in the mess we're in now. We're trying to purge ourselves of that devil. So we'll see whether Powell keeps his job, whether these companies are hoping that the Fed will start pumping free money again happens.
Melissa and Brentwood, if y'all are listening still, I think you are still here. Yes, Melissa, I agree. WW3. I do think that prepare as much as you can because it's not just going to be overseas. With all of the immigrants let into our country recently, it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah, it never hurts to prepare. There will always be unforeseen events, black swans. So maybe you see something coming, maybe it comes, maybe it doesn't, but
It's better to prepare than not.
Always better to prepare, to have that plan B and be thinking about what is most essential to you.
Because our infrastructure is so weak right now, just as far as electricity and every communication and our military. And it's, it's a scary time. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to try to paint a pretty picture of poppies when it's not.
Well,
And Clay hates it when I say stuff like that.
No, I don't.
Here's your
I
sign
don't
to buy
tend
more
to.
ammo. Yeah, I know. And people should, and an extra can of food here and there is not going to kill you. Safety first, absolutely. Just buy a few extra bottles of water, a few cases of water. Just do the things that you think you would need if there were an issue. Please.
Yeah, we have seen, even in good times, events like Katrina, where there was no water for weeks, where electricity was down for weeks, your credit cards, wouldn't work. Grocery stores couldn't be restocked. So,
God, during Florence, I was the only person I knew of to take out a bunch of cash out of the bank before, because I was just like, what are you going to pay with stuff with?
Yeah.
And
I asked my students, what would you do if you didn't have electricity or water for a couple of weeks? If electricity's down for a couple of weeks, the water you get out of your faucet isn't going to be there because the filtration plant can't process and pump water. So the electronic valves won't work.
Nothing will.
So the water will run out. So just take care of yourself.
I think we should do another thing on this too, just on this prep thing. We do have like a whole, Clay's got a list of things. If you were to prep, these are things you should think about. Where'd you go? If you want that, please let us know. I can't see anything.
Okay.
Going on there.
One thing is that I mentioned earlier, we would announce the book for next month's book club. And it looks like The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis has won the poll. A good book, great author.
Never read it.
We will
You
go.
did, Brentwood. Okay, awesome.
We will go with The Problem of Pain.
Might be apropos.
Yeah.
I need to get 5 more gigs so we can afford places. I know, but this is just like a small list of things that are good to do. And like I told my neighbor 2 years ago, I was just like, just buy an extra can of food or vegetables or whatever when you're at the grocery store. And she was like, okay. So last week I was like, so how are you doing on your, preparing? She's like, well, I got like 2 extra cans. I'm like, all right, love. 2 years, 2 cans.
Yeah. You know, just be thinking. Just be aware of what your risks are and what risk you need to manage. You know, you do the best you can. And, you know, if you can improve your skills some, like I just bought a book on mushrooms. Helped me better idea of mushrooms in this region. Just part of it's for the fun. I enjoy nature and being out in nature and walking. So,
And we have rosemary plants, and you can make a tincture with rosemary that's a great antifungal and anti-inflammatory.
yeah. So you just learn
You take rosemary,
little basic things.
throw it in a jar, cover it with vodka, seal it up for 8 weeks, and then pour it into smaller, or you don't have to pour smaller little glasses, but it's a great
Eyedropper
antifungal,
bottles.
yeah, inflammatory.
You know, so it never hurts to improve your skills, improve your knowledge. So if you have any questions or whatever, don't hesitate to ask. If y'all want to have a night on this topic, you know, we certainly can do that.
In Brentwood, I know, Melissa, we have your email. In Brentwood, we have both Brentwood.
Yeah.
We'll send that to you. We will send you that list.
Yeah. So y'all, we're going to call it a night. It's been a
weird night.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
It has been a little difficult day, but we love you. We appreciate you being with us. Appreciate your support very much. And do hope all of you have a great remainder of the weekend.
Please do.
So
Love you guys.
thank you very much. Blessings to you. Our time is up. We thank you for
Brentwood 2 months. Oh my gosh. Yay. Thanks for the hugs.
Thanks, Brentwood. Y'all have a great night.